My name is Danielle Mullings. I went on the Andes and Amazon program last year, so 2019. I wanted to take a gap year because I was at the end of my schooling experience, and I was thinking, and saying, well, I feel as though everything has been kind of planned for me, and I wanted to take a year and actually plan it for myself. So that was the inspiration, as well as I wanted to see what kind of learning exists outside of the standard, somewhat conveyor belt approach to life. You just go through different schooling systems. Yes, that's why I took it. And the Andes and Amazon program, I actually wanted to do the Indonesia one, right? But I did get
That's
that
the one I did.
scholarship.
Yeah.
That's the one you did. Yeah, I can
Yeah.
see your background for real. But because I didn't get the scholarship for that one, I got it for the Andes. But I was like, this is still such a cool opportunity, and there's so much to learn. So yeah. So many people. I don't even think I can really categorize them per se, but one person I would speak to is Oliver Oscar. Yeah, I'm probably butchering his name, but I think it's Oliver Oscar, and he had said, he dropped so many gems, honestly, and all of it was in Spanish. And one that showed me that, normally we live in one realm or one language, the English language, but there's so much information and so much positivity, or good new concepts that exist in completely different languages. So he was saying, though, that if you're fighting a fight, then if you're fighting for a happier world, then the fight itself must be happy as well. And I thought that was so beautiful. And even now, with everything going on in the world, it's just a concept that can be applied in so many different ways. I would probably say the first trek, or any of the treks still. The treks were just so difficult for me because I had never been at any of those altitudes ever. Like, for example, when we just started out and we were at Hanapacha, which is where we did orientation, that altitude I think was like 8,000 feet. Like on a regular, we were at 8,000 feet, and that's taller than the highest mountain in Jamaica. So I had never been at any of those altitudes ever. And so I think overall, just the experience of trekking itself and learning to kind of differ a little bit, some of, like, if you're having difficulties, learning how to differ some of the tasks so that you can get through, because there's some people who are stronger in it than you are. And so, the other students would help out and take some of the weights or so on, but just learning to trust in others when you're having a difficult time. Most about how we didn't have this preoccupation with what the future would look like. We just kind of lived like day to day, and we enjoyed it. I also really liked how, normally in the when you're in your regular day to day life, you're like, oh, it's Monday again, or you have school again, or you have work, whatever it is. There, like, any day could be amazing because you could just do anything, and that whole view and experience of life is what I ultimately want to have for my day to day life. So it's been like, how do I recreate that spontaneity and just join any day at all. Yeah, I feel like it was just so different. It's hard to bring that in. One thing I have seen, though, is I think when you're in a foreign country, it's a lot easier for you to just, like, go and talk to random people or so on. Like you're outside of your comfort zone completely. So some activities become almost normalized. Whereas when you're in your regular day-to-day space, you may not interact with as many people, just by virtue of, like, you're just in your day-to-day space. So it's like a whole mindset, and having to realize that you could do that anywhere. You could go and, like, drive down the road or to the beach one day. Like, I remember one day on Dragons, we just walked to a nearby town, like, just because we wanted to, one night. That's something I could do here as well, but it's a different mindset, so I wouldn't think to do it here. So that's the vibe. That's a good one. I would say before I was, what word did I use? Probably maybe less open, more reserved, I would say, reserved in terms of like risk taking, right? And I think after Dragons, it was just this whole, like my brain was just like, poof, you know, there's so much that can be done across the world, and there's so much that, like I said earlier, so much knowledge and concepts that are in completely different languages. So it really has spurred a want to just explore more and interact with more persons and more diverse cultures to really see, like there's so much in the world basically. So maybe a revelation would be oatmeal. Avena. I actually, like, I didn't even really eat it before Dragons, but we started having it every day, and I was just like, this is so beautiful. I could genuinely eat this every day still. The biggest, there was one day, like, I guess everything was going wrong, but it ended up being amazing and at the same time. So like we had a set schedule of how things should work, but like nothing, like everything was just working. I remember it wasn't working. So like we started out with the cars not working. Like there was some leak on one of the cars. So then we're on the side of the road for a while. Waited like 2 hours, then another one came, we're good to go again, and then there was another problem there in that it wasn't like licensed or something of the sort. So like a bunch of things kept happening, and then there was a landslide and we couldn't get to another part. It was just everything coming together, and but it was such an amazing experience. And when we finally reached like late in, or early in the morning, like 2 a.m., I was like, whoa, we actually, so many obstacles came in our way, but we navigated it anyway. And I think that was an amazing part of the trip, just to see so many things supposedly going wrong, but still ending up right at the end. They teach you to interact with the communities that you're in. Not even just the other communities, like, but the Dragons community itself, like how you interact with your instructors and your fellow students. Like they would pose some questions to us that I had never thought about in terms of group setting or group building and building a dynamic. Like being very careful about how you may unintentionally exclude others. And that wasn't always in the typical ways that we would have. Like, for example, they were saying, you know, having certain friendships or being like almost clique-like, or not allowing someone else to enter a conversation, or, you know, some of the things that we may do on a day-to-day basis regularly and not think about the other repercussions of it. So I love that focus of inclusion or inclusivity across the board in everything that you're doing. All right, cool. I'm doing many things actually. I'm in the tech space, mainly tech and documentary making and student leadership, youth empowerment. So I'm now sitting on like one of the global youth tech councils, and we're looking at tech for health. How can we help use tech to aid in the achievement of universal health coverage by 2030? So that one's pretty cool. And I'm also like the student head now for the Faculty of Science and Technology at my university. So I'm really in the tech space a lot and doing like a lot of motivational speeches, just overall general youth empowerment for other young people in Jamaica. So yeah, and documentary making. I like to document our culture. So since Dragons, I did, oh wait, no, that one was right before. Oh, one I did after Dragons was, it's basically about Bad Friday, which is a cultural phenomenon not a cultural phenomenon, it's something that happened in our history in Jamaica, basically a period of time where it was, I guess it's police brutality, but against the Rastafarian people, which is interesting because Jamaica is almost synonymous with Rastafarians now. So to think that there was a period in our time, like right after independence, where Rastafarians were being discriminated against or just put in police lockups, etc. It's interesting to think about because Bob Marley basically like revolutionized. I mean, alongside many other freedom fighters and whatnot, but like that has become the brand of Jamaica. And so to think that there was a period of time where Jamaica wasn't okay with that is interesting. So yeah, that's one. And I've done many others as well. I also went to the Sundance Film Festival this year. I was just interning to see like what's going on in the film industry in an international sense. And I love seeing the tech integrations with films. That's another area I'll be looking into. I think I would just like to big up, I don't even know where this is going, Zine, but I'd like to big up my ISP teacher, Maciel. I think she was just like absolutely amazing. And we're like, when we just started, I didn't know any, well, I knew a few Spanish words because we have to do Spanish growing up, but I hadn't done Spanish recently. And then she didn't know any English words really. So for the two of us to work through that and create that documentary that is on the Dragon's page was very big for me because we were getting over that language barrier to actually like work on a piece together and try and understand the different themes that I'm trying to bring across and that she was recommending to bring across was is very beautiful to me. So yeah.